And I want to congratulate you for setting your clocks ahead. That was very, very good. And just a couple more things before I start the message. That beautiful, beautiful prayer this morning by Scott. It is his first time on the practitioner rotation for opening our service, but he, for those of you who don't know, is our ministerial student. And so he's a pretty good prayer, gotta say. And then I'd like to say good morning to Jan Renser. I woke up this morning for a Facebook post from Jan, who is a member of our community in Wales. So can you just pan the group and have everybody wave to Jan? We love Jan. Oh, she's gonna love that. And then a good morning to everyone else who is visiting online. So here we are, and we are in the well begun in our theme this year, right there, Your Joyous Life. So I see some people that I haven't seen here today, so welcome you new people, and this is your life, only more joyful. And so that's what we are learning about, all of us, this year. So if that appeals to you, you are in the right place, and welcome home. So we have a monthly theme, and the monthly theme is actually about work and your work in the world. But the way we say that kind of from a spiritual perspective is your divine expression is your natural calling. So whatever is the natural way for you to move and give in the world, that really and truly is your work, no matter what you're doing, you know, for your paycheck. And we have a goal this month, which is to aim higher. Whatever we're doing on our pathway, if we could do it more intensely, more consciously, with greater love, with greater intention, that will add to our joy in life. Because, you know, that overall theme, Your Joyous Life, it doesn't just plop in your life. You have to do something on the inside for that to happen. And that those things we do on the inside are what our spiritual lessons are, and what I'm going to talk about every single week. And they're actually pretty easy, but you can't just think about them. You have to actually think them and live them for that joy to take hold. So Gailya is our altar goddess this morning, and we've got orchids and bears, that's the theme, lovely. The singing, dancing bears on the altar represent joy we exude when we express ourselves naturally and uniquely. So that little brown bear in the middle does a little song and dance if you like shake hands with him. So I'm not going to do it right now, but I know that there will be many of you that will pinch his little paw and he'll dance for you. So the title today is Move in Your Natural Direction. So isn't that's kind of like that row your boat gently down the stream image. There is a natural life path for you, and perhaps several paths that you walk in your life. This path invites you to give your natural gifts. And it's not always easy, but I'm telling you, it is a lot easier than doing something that is not yours to do. So what we want to find is our natural path and then give it everything we've got. So the book that we're using this whole year in the in-home studies, and we've got some in the bookstore if you want to catch up with us if you're not already a part of it. It's called The Happiness Project, and I'm going to read to you a little bit about the inspiration for this talk this morning. Fake it till you feel it was an effective way to change my mood in the moment, but it isn't a good governing principle for major life decisions. By faking it, I could become engaged in subjects and activities that didn't particularly interest me. Self-knowledge is one of the qualities that I admire most in my sister. Elizabeth never questions her own nature. In school, I played field hockey even though I was a terrible athlete. I took physics, which I hated, and wished I were more into music. I wasn't. Not Elizabeth. She has always been unswervingly true to herself. Unlike many smart people, for example, she never apologized for her love of commercial fiction or television, an attitude vindicated by the fact that she started her career writing commercial adult novels and then became a TV writer. I worry about feeling legitimate, I confessed. Working in something like law or finance or politics would make me feel legitimate. You know, she said, you've always had this desire for legitimacy, and you'll have it forever. It's probably why you went to law school. But should you let it determine your next job? You've already done highly legitimate things like clerking on the Supreme Court, but do you feel legitimate? Not really. So you probably never will, okay? Just don't let that drive your decisions. I took one more legal job at the Federal Communications Commission, then decided to try to start a career as a writer. I decided to do what I wanted to do. That's the clue for living your natural direction. I have a personal story about that too. My mother remarried when I was 10 years old, and she married a businessman in Tucson, kind of a prestigious businessman. He was president of the Tucson Retail Trade Bureau, and he was well known. And when his picture appeared in the paper, it would just say Don, and everybody knew who Don was. But he wanted all his life to be a forest ranger. Instead, he was a businessman in Tucson. And so what happened, of course, is he lived for the 2 weeks a year that he gave himself off to go somewhere in the world and fish, or go somewhere in the woods by a stream. He wanted to be in nature, in the woods, and instead he put himself in an office, and he was an unhappy man. So you can actually choose anything you want. That's what the law says, the creative law that runs everything. You can choose anything and step into it, but it usually really goes better for ourselves when we follow the divine pattern at the center of our being. So I'm not saying that that God has a plan for you, because that kind of says, oh, I don't know if I want to do God's plan for me. And we kind of rebel against that, but instead we have a divine pattern in our soul. That's God within. God within, in our soul, has a direction that we long to go in, and that's what we want to follow. So there's a great power in self-knowledge, just like our author said in that little excerpt that I wrote. And so to ask yourself, what are my natural God-given skills and abilities? How do I know that I'm in the flow of life instead of going against it? Because sometimes we have gone against the flow of life so much that that's what actually feels familiar. But I believe that everybody at the beginning of their life, probably when we were all small children, we knew what it felt like to be in the flow of life. So many people I have counseled said, you know, I was magical when I was a child. I, would talk to butterflies. I would, whatever you would do, but you just really felt like you were in that flow of life. And then somehow I see people smiling at the person they're sitting next to, like, see. So look at yourself too, because that's true for you. So something happens and we get off track, and then we start doing something that we don't love too much, and then we keep doing it because we have responsibilities and so forth. So the idea is to get back. If you're not living your natural direction, if you're not flowing with life, getting back to what feels natural for you is what we want for you, what I want for you, and what the God within wants for you. So one of the practices to do that is visioning, and this is one of that and spiritual mind treatment are basic spiritual practices that we do, and any practitioner can describe this to you, but we also have a monthly visioning meeting that will give you the kind of the structure of it. But basically it's simply that you go into meditation and you ask a question, and then you don't answer it with your best thought. You wait. You wait for some divine revelation. And so for you to go into meditation and then just ask, what is my divine pattern? And then you wait. What is my divine pattern? And you wait. Something will be shown to you. It may not be the first time if you are ingrained in something you shouldn't be doing, but it will reveal itself to you. And usually it's not that far down. Usually our soul wants to express it so much that once you ask that question, your soul screams at you, this is what you should be doing. So, ready to either affirm that we're on our natural direction or find it? Okay, great. So finding your natural direction. First step, realize you are an unrepeatable miracle. Now, I say that, you know, we toss that out. And I want you to receive that not as a flippant statement of, oh, you're so special, we're all so special. We are miracles. Miracles. And you are a unique miracle. There is no one like you ever. There's no one like you from the beginning of time until the end. You are the one that broke your mold. You are it. And you have particular skills and gifts to give. You have a soul print of how you love. And that's unique. You have a soul print of how you spread peace or how you spread joy. Nobody else like you. And the world is calling for those gifts to be given. Hildegard of Bingen, a middle-aged monk, mystic, says, she's quoting God actually, with my mouth, God says, I kiss my own chosen creation. I uniquely, lovingly embrace every image I have made out of earth's clay. With a fiery spirit, I transform it into a body to serve all the world. That's you. You are a creation of the Infinite One, and within you are gifts to give to the world that the world longs for. So the next is identify the skills you have been given by God. Again, it's not very difficult. It's probably what you love to do. Something about what you love to do has a relationship to what you are supposed to be giving in the world. It's pretty obvious usually. Sometimes it's very different from your family of origin, and sometimes you kind of slip into the family business because everybody loves it and talks about it. But it's the important piece about this, about identifying your skills and what you love to do, the important piece is to give yourself permission to do what you love for most of your waking moments. Now, some of us, and in fact, Don Jones' impact on the children that he had and on me for a while, my stepfather was, you know, work is hard, work is what you have to do, and go to work. Don't be lazy. That's it, work, don't be lazy. And so what I'm saying, if you have that message that work is hard and you have to do it, I'm offering you a new idea. And that's the only way we heal our life, is to grab a hold of a new idea and then install it as the truth in your mind. And what I want you to know is that what you love to do is what you should be doing. Work is great. It's what you give into the world, and it should be absolutely joyful. So thank God, actually, my mother said, do what you love. And so I got to do that. And the key to me came at age 14. There were two important things that happened at 14, and they were actually kind of small things, but they've stayed in my mind, and I put them together actually for the first time when I was doing this talk. One thing was I saw an old movie. I used to love old movies, like from the 40s. When I would come home from school, I would watch an old movie. And I watched this movie about a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist was diagnosing this guy who had a recurring dream. And the recurring dream had something to do with something that needed to be healed in his life. It was a scary dream. And the psychiatrist helped him unpack that dream, and then the guy was healed and he had a happy life. And I watched that movie at age 14. I said, I want to do that. I'm going to be a psychiatrist. The other thing that happened was that in junior high, I was given my first aptitude test. And so you answer all these questions, and then they rank you about your jobs, what you would be good at and what you would not be good at. So up in the top were things like therapist and teacher and stuff like that. At the very, very bottom was accountant. Like, don't even try to do this. Don't think about putting yourself in a job with numbers. You will die. And so, thank goodness, I followed that all my life. You know, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not the treasurer of our church. But anyway, so identify your skills and then use them. It's never, ever, ever too late. It's never too late to say, you know, at 14, I was pretty good at, you know, putting models together. I think I'm going to be a designer of something. And then you go do it. I know that that sounds too simple, but it's not. If you just say, I'm doing it, you can, the path, if you start stepping into what you love to do, your soul will rejoice, as will the entire universe, because one more of its creation is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And you are restoring order to the whole universe when you do what you're supposed to be doing. Next is discern your growing edge. When you've identified your skills and you're on that path, then stay on the edge, pushing yourself to the next thing and the next thing. Hildegard, again, I love Hildegard, 16th century Christian mystic, spoke about the green growing edge of our becoming. Now, the green growing edge of our becoming is standing out there on the little skinny limb and asking, envisioning, once again, what's next? What's next? And that you'll be shown what's next. You'll be shown what's next, and you'll be shown what's next. So we have a story from somebody in the community that emailed me this week about a simple experience she had that fits exactly into being on her growing edge and taking that step. So I'd like to invite Suzanne Roth-Paul up. She's a little nervous, so give her love.
Wow. Can you hear me? Oh, unfortunately you can. Okay, so here I go. So that's quite fascinating, Karyl. Thank you for sharing that about your junior high experience, because I too am only capable of creative things. Accountancy was at the very bottom, and I married a man who's an accountant, so that answers that question of how I survive financially. But anyway, so Karyl, I'm taking Karyl's class right now on meditation and treatment, and what this relates to is a story that's been happening since last June, when I started taking classes here at the Golden Gate Center about trying to find a new path for myself career-wise. And I've always been creative, and my passion up to now has been fulfilled. I've been doing something that I love, but I'm on a different path right now. I want to do something different. I want to do something more spiritual and something that is more giving to the world. And so I've been working on that, and this pathway that I'm on, Karyl keeps telling me, this is a hero's journey. This is what you're on, Suzanne. And I keep having all these manifestations happen. And, you know, I'm shaking my head. I can't believe this. And she's like, yes, this is what's happening. This is why. So she said, would you please tell the story to my congregation today and explain something that just has happened to me so that you can see that this is God in action working for me. So I'm at a grocery store here locally, and I never, ever visit this grocery store. This is the second time that I've ever been in this store. And I've got 30 minutes exactly to get my groceries, but I need a cup of tea. So I go over, I get a cup of tea, and as I'm putting milk in my tea, I can't figure out which milk to use because I have all these ridiculous dietary restrictions. And I'm standing there, and I'm taking all this time, and this woman's behind me, and she says, she's patiently waiting, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm having trouble making a decision here. She says, well, why don't you try that coconut cream delight? It's delicious. And I'm like, okay, you know, so I poured in my tea, and I'm like, God, how much sugar does this have in it? She says, well, it has a little, but don't worry about it, it's delicious. So I start to drink it, and I'm like, yeah, it's really good. And she says, well, you know, you can make your own coconut milk. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but who has the time for that? So we get into this in-depth conversation, and for 20 minutes, we are talking about my dream, which is health and wellness. And she and I are just connecting like nobody's business. We are talking and laughing and going on and on about both of our passions. And so I said, you know, okay, we got to wrap this up. Let's meet soon and let's talk further. And so she hands me her business card, and on her business card is, of course, I can't remember what it says, but it's darling. She says, my name is, Julianne, and my business is called Healthy Habits. And I am a lifestyle coach in the health and wellness department. And she says, I would love to talk to you and brainstorm with you about what we can do to make this dream of yours happen. And, I don't know what I want to do. All I know is I'm on this path, that I want to do something in this realm of work. So we exchange cards, and I'm standing there in total awe and thinking to myself, I cannot believe this is happening. And then I'm like, of course this is happening. This is another manifestation. This is exactly what Karyl is talking about when she says we're in the flow of the divine. And it's the row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Here I am, right in the middle of it, totally shocked, and no groceries. I have like 10 minutes to get my groceries. So of course, I don't manage, I'm not successful in that at all. So I get home and late that evening, and I'm so excited, I have to tell this story to somebody. So I open the door, I come into the house, and there's my adorable husband and my adorable teenager, and I'm like, I've got to tell them this story. And they look at me and they say, where's the food? And I realize I have no groceries, I have no food, and I have this story, and they don't want to hear it. So we have leftovers for dinner again that evening, healthy leftover dinners. And after we eat, I rush to my office, and I'm like, I've got to open this computer, and I've got to tell this story. So I fire off an email to my wonderful classmates in our meditation and treatment class and Reverend Karyl. I hesitated. I was like, do I want Reverend Karyl to hear this? Okay, fine. I tell her. And, I get that off my chest, and a day or so later, I hear from Reverend Karyl, and she says, Suzanne, that is amazing. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Would you please get up and tell this story on Sunday? And immediately my bubbles burst. I'm like, oh my God, please, that is not what I expected her to ask of me. And so I want to fire off right away and say, no, thank you, I can't do this. And I stop and I think, no, wait a minute, this is a divine intervention. I am supposed to be doing this. This is what I need to step up to this new place in my life, which is, as the book says, the Happiness Project book, which I read that evening, says, aim higher. Aim higher. This is what you need to do. So I reluctantly email her back, and I said, I'm willing to do this, and agreed to it. Before I realized, she says, you have 3 minutes. I'm like, 3 minutes? Those of you guys who know me, I can't say anything in less than 3 minutes. I can barely say hello in less than 3 minutes. So here I am telling my story, and just wanted to share with you that it's possible all things are possible if your dreams are there and visible and you can touch them. You don't know where this is taking you. You don't know what's going to happen for you, but your heart is open and you're willing to listen. These things can happen. So,
Oh, so fabulous. Thank you. Oh, gosh, I love that. So, so you're going along, you're on your green going edge, you're saying yes, your heart is open, all of that, and then something really enormous comes upon you. I mean, like something really out of the blue, an inspiration, a challenge, a mandate from God that seems so different at first and so big, it's like, what? Me? Well, we have a great example of how to operate with one of these biggies in the Bible. So the next one is say yes. No, that's stay there. Stay there at the edge. There we go. Say yes to the burning bushes. Okay, so we're going to Exodus 4 and 5. This is the story of Moses, or part of the story of Moses. And Moses, this is, okay, so we break into the story here after Moses has been, delivered to the Pharaoh's chambers in a basket as a baby, and then he's raised in the Pharaoh's court, and then he becomes a leader of the Pharaoh's workers, and then he gets this, this idea, I need to go into the desert and raise sheep. So he goes into the desert and raises sheep, and then he loses one of his sheep, and he goes up on the mountain to find his sheep. And Moses, let's see. Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. So this is the first clue. God gives you something that is so fascinating that it draws your attention, and you cannot ignore it. That's kind of when you know that's the point of no return, but you never realize it then. Okay, so when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses, and he said, Here am I. So that's the other thing that just solidified Moses' accord with what was going to come up, because first of all, he turned aside because he was fascinated by something God was showing him, and then when God spoke, Moses said, yeah, I'm here, instead of running, hightailed down the mountain. So then the cry, God says, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppress them. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, and thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moses said unto God, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? So this is, when you're asked to do something, when the agenda of God, kind of is, or your own soul, is presented to you, you have a temptation to say, oh no, it's not me. And Moses said unto God, let's see, and God said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this is a token unto thee, I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. That enigmatic phrase of absolute isness and beingness is the name of God. That's a whole other lesson, when you say I am, and you follow it with anything, that is the law unto your being. Well, anyway, it goes on, and Moses actually refuses God 4 times. And the last time it said, and Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither therefore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. And now you just kind of see God getting just exasperated. The Lord said unto him, Who made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb or deaf or the seeing or the blind? Have I not the Lord? Now go, therefore, and I will be thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. So finally, Moses did not have anything else to complain about or say, or I can't, and because God said, I'm going to talk through you, for goodness sakes, go there. So on the surface, it might look like, wow, this is a big job, and if something like that happens to me or to you, how do we know that this is our natural path? But then when you look at it, you've got this. Moses was the perfect one. He was born a Jew and then raised in the court of the Pharaoh and then became a leader of at least sheep. And so he was the perfect one to be sent back to the Pharaoh to bring God's people out. So if that ever happens to you, and I hope it does, I hope you get an assignment where you say, no, 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 okay. And that you kind of say, yes, this is my mission. I didn't think it was, but now that I see it, it's perfect. You know, I think Michael Beckwith said this. I'm attributing this quote to him. God qualifies the called. He does not always call the qualified. So if you are called to do something and you think, I can't do this, you will be able to. So I searched in my life for a burning bush. I don't have an actual burning bush right now, but I have maybe a little smolder that I wanted to share with you. Something new that just came up seemingly out of the blue. And that is that the last time I did a book event at Book Passage, there was someone in the audience who is a professor at San Francisco State. And he said, I would like you to come and speak to my class. And so I said, well, we'll talk. So he took a few months, but he recently emailed me and said, these are the dates. I would like you to come and speak to my class. By the way, we're using your ritual book as our textbook. At San Francisco State. And so we've got a date, April 20th. I'm going to go and talk to, I'm going to be Professor Huntley. So I'm pretty happy about that. So, in conclusion, for a successful life, both are altogether, emotionally and in your activity and spiritually, there's the right balance that we need of purposeful action and surrender. Now, purposeful action means that you really do determine your skills and talents that are given by God, and you exercise them, you use them, you stay on your green growing edge, and you say yes and yes and yes. And then when you get that burning bush experience, you surrender. And then with the surrender, you will be given the next purposeful action steps that you need. So it's a surrender and action as we move through life, giving all of our gifts. And if there's something in you that says, oh, I almost understand what she's talking about, I really feel this applies to me, please see one of the practitioners and get a prayer or work with a practitioner so that you can have this experience of what we all want at the end of the day, at the end of our life, is to feel well used. We want all those skills and talents in us to have been given. We want to just be empty because we've given everything that we have to give. So that's what I want for myself. That's what I want for you. The classes help you define what it is that is next for you to do. My students now in the 2 classes that I am teaching are such hard workers on their own life. And as they transform their lives, this community is transformed, and our world is transformed, and we get to live our life purpose. And then lastly, really, 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 truly remember that you are an unrepeatable miracle. Thank you. Now, there's always those of you who say, oh, I know that already. So, this is a really good going deeper for those of you that want an advanced lesson. Are you ready for the advanced lesson? This should knock your socks off. Pray this: I am ready for the big challenges. Yeah. So with that, let us move into the inner work. The inner work today is a variation of that first statement of Moses. I'm going to ask you to repeat some things, starting with, I am here. Please repeat, I am here. I am here to set fear aside. I am here to receive divine direction. I am here to walk my path. I am here to bring peace, love, and joy. I am here to spread brotherhood and sisterhood. I am here to bring heaven to earth. I am here to do the specific work that is mine to do. I am here to give God's gifts through me. I am here to accomplish my soul's purpose. And as these sweet, sweet souls admit their purpose for living, may it be that each one is divinely guided, directed, supported, and sustained to give their true gifts into the world. And as they are well used, may it be that their joy increases so much that it overflows them and out into the world, making the world orderly, peaceful, and joyful. So be it now.